All right. Well, the regular season is over, ladies and gentlemen. The Commanders beat us in the final week of the year, costing us the 2 seed as Detroit took care of business. And now Philadelphia gets to play the San Francisco 49ers round 1 of the playoffs at Lincoln Financial Field. And we'll talk about that game in just a few. But talking about this game, Tanner McKee and the backups got the start today, and it was a game that was very, very weird, I thought, in terms of sequencing and just the way that it was kind of, the game flow was off. It was all Washington for the most part. And, you know, they had Tanner McKee throw it 40 times in this game. That's a lot of pass attempts for the backup quarterback. They really, really like Tanner. I really like Tanner. And he had a game where I thought he played okay. I'm not going to kill Tanner for how he played in this game. Again, backup after, so many weeks of not playing, get thrusted into the lineup, and you're expected to win a huge game that had huge implications for us as a playoff team. That's a tough ask, okay? So I'm not going to kill Tanner. There's some throws in this game where I think he wish he had back. And, we got Devontae Smith at 1,000 yards, and it seemed like they just wanted to get him his 1K, and then they yanked him out of the game. But this is really going to be more of a discussion regarding how the team handled this game. There was a big discussion on whether or not you needed to rest the starters or play them, or, do you think that the Eagles could have beaten Washington with the backups? Now, I do believe that there were moments in this game where you looked at it and you said, oh, wow, we're about to really put it to Washington. And then a bad play call here or there, or a bad decision by Tanner McKee, or just a very, very poor executed play on offense. And then on defense, Ja'Cory Bennett and Keely Ringo, again, in an NFL stance, in an NFL standard, are just not good football players. They really cannot cover. They might be arrested for assault after this game. Like, it was an awful display by Keely Ringo and Ja'Cory Bennett. And it gives you much more of an appreciation for guys like Quinyon, like Cooper, like Reed, like, Makuba and Marcus Epps. And you know what? We need to issue an apology to Adoree Jackson, because quite frankly, my goodness, we were brutal to Adoree Jackson, and we see why this football team chose Adoree Jackson over Keely Ringo and Ja'Cory Bennett, because those two guys can't cover a parked car. Like, these guys do not know how to play defensive back in the National Football League, and it was shown on display. Josh Johnson picked you apart. Okay, it was horrific. PIs all over, and they were all warranted, by the way. It wasn't like they were just like iffy calls. They were warranted PIs. This game was, again, Washington came beat us up. They ran for 140 yards on us and 2 scores. I mean, I was shocked at how effective Tank Bigsby was in this game and him not getting the ball. It really made no sense. He had 75 yards on the day. He had a touchdown, and then he also had 30 yards receiving. He had that one little pass that he took, broke a tackle, and, made a really, really big play down the field. And it was just a very poorly called game in the second half by Kevin Batul and this coaching staff. And once again, they're going to take a lot of heat for the next day or two of how they managed this game and how they managed not playing the starter, because Detroit won and you had the 2 seed on the line, and effectively you gave up a home game in order to get 1,000 yards for Devontae Smith in the end. I think that's what it ended up being. And, was it really worth it? Is the question. But I'm not going to be too angry. I was a little annoyed. I would have liked to have gotten the damn 2 seed, because then you would have played the Packers. And then at that point, you would have gotten a second home playoff game. And for people who say, oh, no, you decided this prior to the game, let me ask you this. If you had an opportunity to win the division, would you have played your starters? Of course you would have, because 1, it was for the division, and 2, it's because it's for a home playoff game, as the way they organize and build the playoff seedings. You effectively cost yourself a playoff game. That's basically what you did. Now, maybe they're comfortable with being the 3 seed, and that's fine. And they're going to go ahead, and really not much you can do about it now. They're going to play the San Francisco 49ers, and, that just is what it is. So, They're going to take heat for it for a little bit, and then after that, it's going to be on to the 49ers, and that's what we're going to do here. But before we do that, let's introduce you to the show. This is the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. I am your host, Asaf Badi, and like you, I am a Birds fan who talks about the Birds, only the Birds, and nothing but the Philadelphia Eagles. So please do us a favor here, help us grow this channel organically by shooting this video a thumbs up, commenting your thoughts on the comment section below, and subscribing to the channel. Also, check us out on audio platforms such as Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star review because in the end, it doesn't cost you a damn thing to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We appreciate your support on the opposite side of the camera and on the opposite side of the airwaves. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at this playoff picture, shall we? In the NFC, the Seahawks get the 1 seed. The Bears officially get the 2 seed, thanks to, Philadelphia losing against Washington. And let me actually pull up so that the video audience can see, and I will explain this to the radio audience. Alrighty, so Seahawks get the 1 seed. The Bears get the 2. We're in the 3 hole. Carolina won their division via Atlanta's win. The Rams get the 5, Niners 6, Packers 7. So now the way it's going to look at, here's the playoff bracket. Let's pull it up, by the way, because that's just basically how it's going to go. And it doesn't seem like we're going to be able to do that. So let me go back to the playoff picture. So effectively, we are playing the San Francisco 49ers, okay? The Seahawks and the Broncos get the bye week. Again, there's still a little bit more implications here in the AFC, I'm sure. There's still one available playoff spot. The Ravens and the Steelers still have to figure out what's going on today. But let's axe out the 1 seed for a second. So this is going to be the playoff matchups. The Packers play the Bears in a division rival game. The Eagles play the Niners. Panthers play the Rams, okay? Now, San Francisco 49ers are a team, ladies and gentlemen, that is playoff experience, that has a quarterback that's been to 2 NFC title games, been to a Super Bowl, and was in overtime against the Chiefs. And Kyle Shanahan, one of the better play callers in the NFL, does have a tendency to fold in big games, but he is one of the elite head coaches and elite play callers in the game. You have a Hall of Fame running back in Christian McCaffrey, a borderline Hall of Famer, if not a Hall of Fame tight end in George Kittle. And you still have Trent Williams on the offensive side of the ball, who is probably the best tackle of my lifetime that I have seen on the offensive side of the ball, even more so than Lane Johnson, ladies and gentlemen. So they got elite players there, and they have elite coaching. And it's an offense that's been churning the past few weeks, except against Seattle, where they were held to 3 points, and Christian McCaffrey was held to virtually nothing on the ground. He was not effective, okay? And that's basically the key in the San Francisco matchup. Can the defense, can Vic Fangio out-scheme Kyle Shanahan, and can the defenders of Philadelphia, the players themselves, out-execute what is this elite 49ers offense? That's the key. If you can get to Christian McCaffrey and stifle him in the running game and force Brock Purdy to throw it, you will have the best chance at victory in that game, especially considering they have to come cross country on the road, different time zone, because that does play a role in these games here, and it's going to be probably a Sunday game. Philadelphia at home is a different animal than they are on the road. It just would be, okay? And the link is a very, very big advantage for the Philadelphia Eagles because we are a team that's highly emotional. We are a team that is a front-running team. We are a team that when we smell blood in the water, we could really pile it on. And if the decision was made last week of benching the starters, effectively players like Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Lane Johnson, the offensive line, Saquon Barkley, all these guys virtually got 2 weeks of rest, right? You talk about last week's preparation, right? They played on that Sunday against the Bills. Then they rested this week. Then you got another week of rest here, and then Sunday you play. So you effectively have 12 to 13 days of rest here outside of the preparation you got to do for a playoff game. Albeit, though, a veteran team that could use a little bit of a breather. It might just be enough to get through this game. And then after that, you're going to have a consistent schedule for the rest of the playoffs, which is probably something that Philadelphia has not really had throughout the season. And that could potentially be why we've seen so many up and down trends in Philadelphia. Although I do believe it's a tribute to the coaching staff and the play of the quarterback. But in the playoffs, I think you're going to have the most structure you had all year in terms of your scheduling. And that might be something that is a breath of fresh air for the Philadelphia Eagles. And playing a team like the Niners, who, quite frankly, have a youth problem on defense. They have a lot of young talent there. But in a big game, you have to think, are they going to rise to the occasion? And when you have an offense like Kyle Shanahan, led by Brock Purdy, you got to think, can Vic Fangio stifle them enough for the offense to be able to get what they need on the ground and through the air and get points on the board? Me personally, I believe the matchup dictates yes. It's not like Fred Warner and Nick Bosa are there. I think if those two guys are there, you have a little bit more of a problem. But those guys are not playing. And it is a big game for not necessarily the Philadelphia Eagles, because I think this year they believe they're playing with house money, but for the San Francisco 49ers, because now you look and you say, okay, Brock, can you go on the road in a big playoff game and get a win for us? Can this veteran unit squeeze out as much juice as they can to stifle in one more playoff run? I don't know if San Francisco has the talent to go ahead and do that. So we're going to talk about this game much later in the week, but right now, as an Eagles fan, we're the 3 seed. We got a playoff game. You got to feel pretty good about where we stand. Not a lot of injuries overall in Philadelphia. Everybody has hit milestones that they needed to this year on the offensive side of the ball. Now, you do have a play call who, while he's gotten better week to week, still is elementary in his sequencing of the game. That may cost you against a team like Kyle Shanahan's, but you have Vic Fangio, who's as good as it gets in terms of play calling a game, and the talent on the defensive side of the ball is out of this world. And now you're going to get Jalen Carter back in the lineup. I think it's a recipe that smells like an Eagles victory, but that could just be the homer that's speaking out right now. But overall, one hell of a season for the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, you finish 11-6, not necessarily the greatest way to finish your year, but you'll take it after being Super Bowl champions, not having back-to-back home games all year long. Different schedule, the hardest schedule in the NFL, right? In terms of the Super Bowl schedule, right? Like you get the first place schedules. So all in all, grand scheme of things, I think Philadelphia is in a decent spot. And now with the playoffs, you have to showcase that you have another gear, another level of focus, another level of attention to detail. Can this team do that? Can you get another run out of this unit? That's yet to be seen. And that's what makes football so exciting, ladies and gentlemen. So right now I feel pretty good as an Eagles fan, and I think you should as well. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about this game much later in the week, but right now, enjoy the fact that the 2025 regular season has come to a close, and we will see you back here next time at the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. Fly, Eagles, fly. Go Birds. Hey. Thank you so much for watching the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. If you want to continue to support the channel, please hit the like and subscribe button down below. Also, check us out on Instagram and TikTok at Riding the Bench Eagles Pod. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it, we're on there. Thank you so much for listening, and please join us next time here at the Riding the Bench Eagles Podcast.